So I did it. I made a feature film, my life's ambition, and it made me want to quit filmmaking altogether.
I was here to check in on the maids. Sam said you were still jumpy about the ghost story. So wait, when you said about the pills...
Yeah. To end my life.
So despite that intro, this is not a whinge and a moan. I don't think there's any point in making that video. It's not going to help anybody. What I want to try to do here is highlight the things that we did well, the things that worked, and also the issues that we faced, solutions that we came up with, in the hope that these might be of use to any of you guys who are thinking about doing a similar thing. So we'll start there with pre-production. Here in Bali, we have a New Year ceremony called Nyepi, a silent day. So there's a big party, and they make very large-scale effigies of demons, modern and new, so old-style witches, etc. And then amusing ogo they're called, amusing versions, or like influencers or remote workers, or a modern joke about modern demons and devils. Burn them and a party, and then the next day and night are spent in silence. The airport shuts down in Bali, the power's off, the lights are out, you're not allowed to go out of the house. It's supposed to be a meditational period. I mean, hospitals are still running and emergency services can still provide what they need to, but it's an introverted time. So I wrote a screenplay based upon people trapped in a house being murdered by a layak, a witch. And David Zilberberg, the producer of Redemption Day, it's a movie with, let me check my notes, because I know it's Andy Garcia and Robert Knepper. And it was Robert Knepper, sorry, from Prison Break. And also Gary Dourdan played the main role from CSI. And he was interested in making Silent Day. But then COVID hit, and COVID just broke everything, because even if you had your finances and producers all in place, when you came back after COVID, nothing was the same. I've got friends trying to get movies made that were in the, just about green lit, about to go, and you'd think that, okay, just wait for COVID, pick it up afterwards, but that hasn't worked. So that happened to me. So I wrote another one. I said, right, I'm going to make a feature film, but it needs to be based on the Dov Simmons model of taking a kind of a stage play and shooting it almost live theater style with multiple cameras, no retakes, just blast through it from multiple angles, get your coverage and get the thing done. So that's what I did with this feature film. It was a story originally with 4 characters in one room, one location, a hotel suite, and then going to shoot it with 3 FX30 cameras, which had just come out, get lots and lots of coverage and shoot the hell out of it, get a feature film in 4 nights. So major ambition. So the pre-production was based on that concept. So the first thing obviously is script and actors. Script, as I said, I've written many, so I got that done relatively easily, I thought. And then I've done some other productions in Bali, short films, a TV series, trailer, and met some awesome people, some great actors and some really good crew, foreign and domestic here. So I put together the team without too much problem, and I managed to persuade my long-serving girlfriend to produce it. It was a mission, because she produced other things for me, including the TV series pilot, and drew the line and said, I don't want to do this kind of work anymore. But I persuaded her like a one-off. And this is something that I'll come to a little bit later, but this is when you have favors. And when you have favors, you have to be careful. People working for free or in return for something intangible, it can make your life more complicated. So we'll come back to that. Right, so my first issue was actually on the casting. I originally had 4 actors. So it would be the central character, the music star, who's decided to commit suicide to cement her social media standing. A producer who finds out at the last minute is trying to talk her out of it. Her social media manager who's all for it, and her long-standing friend, accomplice, costume designer. And we started rehearsing, and because it is a dialogue intense movie, there's a lot to do, lots of practice, and I knew we were going to have to refine the script. So the first thing that happened was the Russia-Ukraine war started. And one of the characters, one of the actors is Russian. One of them was Ukrainian at the time. And although it was not a problem for them, between them, I thought, okay, this could be a great opportunity because we can add that dimension to the movie. It'll be topical. It might help get them to sell the movie. It might get attention. But that was not to be. Now, the first thing was that the Ukrainian actress, I'm not going to mention her name. I don't want to be negative about her. I chose her because she's good. But she was not attending the rehearsals on time. The other guys were complaining, saying they're putting in the hard work and she's not. And I ended up having to speak to her about it. But then when I confronted her about her tardiness and lack of commitment, she sent me a whole bunch of WhatsApp messages, starting with being offended, and then ended up, went through the process of questioning her role and explaining her ADHD and other problems she was dealing with, and then eventually finished the WhatsApp messages by essentially firing herself from this waste of time project by a washed up middle-aged crisis director, and walked off. So I guess the lesson there is that, thank God this happened at the beginning. So I think you need to be clear on your characters, your people, your actors, the key personnel. It's very important to make sure that you understand them, that you're all on the same page, and you iron out these problems at the beginning. So that was a lesson learned from that one. So now I thought, well, I can replace this actress, or what I decided to do instead was to rewrite. I amalgamated the social media manager and the close friend costume designer into one character. So now I had less to deal with. And I figured with my 3FX30 concept, 3 small camera concept, that could work better. So there's a rewrite. So there's something that you will expect to do some of. You'll have to be prepared to do rewrites. So that's another lesson. Be prepared to rewrite the script based around your constraints, and that's ongoing. Sometimes a negative reason like this, but it can make things more simple. A lot of times as you develop with the characters and you listen to the actors, you'll see something that you would like to add or like to include, and you always end up with the rewriting. So be prepared for that. Then the second issue was, having made these characters, the Russian and Ukrainian concept, the Russian actress, so we're probably about a year in now. I was working in Mongolia to get the money to make this film, and she messaged me, in view of what's happened, she's not comfortable with playing a Russian character interacting with the Ukrainian, and the story had a sister turning up and it was about the historical relationship between Russia and Ukraine, and it was close. There was the Soviet Union, then the separate countries, and now the situation that everybody knows about. And I said, well, okay, we're not pro-war, anti-war. We're not getting into the politics or any of that kind of stuff. But she said, no, it could affect my friends and family back home, so I can't do it. And she said, I understand if you want to drop me from the project, but if it's got that Russia-Ukraine element in it, then I can't do it. And I wasn't having the best of time in Mongolia. It's a tough environment, although I was working for some really nice people and the accommodation was pretty nice at that stage. But it's difficult being away and in such a unusual and damn cold environment. Worst day there, January, -44 before wind chill. So not making excuses, but I wasn't in the best state of mind, and felt like I was committing to this project and bringing my part. And I was a bit irritated by this. And I actually thought, yeah, maybe I should replace her. But it was 9 months, 12 months into the project. And I didn't want to rewrite. I was like, I could rewrite this. I could change it from Russia, Ukraine into something else. Katya, the actress, she's well capable of playing different nationalities. And I was on the fence. And I'm a bit ashamed to say that because I shouldn't have been. And my girlfriend, the aforementioned producer, kicked me up the arse and said, hey, you can rewrite this. Don't be lazy. These people have shown loyalty and commitment to you and have been working hard and turned up to your rehearsals and learned their lines for a year. You must show, if you want loyalty, you have to show loyalty back. I think that's the point. That the team, a loyal, committed team, is the most important, and don't let them down. Don't betray them. And suitably chastised, I realized, yes, I was being lazy. I didn't want to rewrite. And it didn't take me very long. You know, when you when you have a problem, the way to deal with it is not focus on the problem, but sit down and ask yourself, how can I do whatever it is you need to do? And it didn't take me long at all to come up with a solution involving Czechoslovakia as a replacement. Czechoslovakia split in two after the breakdown of the Soviet Union. It became two countries, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. It fitted easily into my concept. The accent was relatively easy for Katja to do. And again, it required effort from her, it required her to pick up, do some study, learn a little bit about it. And for me also to learn about the background and to get into what happened in Slovakia. And also it was connected with the Balkans War, which I didn't know. They had staff serving there. So it was a lesson. And that's a big one, is be loyal to your team if you want loyalty from them. So I rewrote it, and then we made the modifications, and that was our next step. So one overall point is then that we finally got to the finished script, subject to small modifications. As a writer, director, you should have a very clear idea of what it is that you want and how it all fits together. The problem is that when people come up with ideas, both good and bad, you have to stick to your concept, but be flexible enough to recognize when either there's a problem with what you've come up with or someone else has come up with a brilliant idea that you should incorporate. And that's difficult because you have to be open-minded, but at the same time, the buck stops with you, and you have to be confident and stick to your guns when you're sure that you're right. So that's another lesson I would say. Try to walk that fine line, be open-minded to ideas, but have a filter and be clear. Make sure that you stick to the concept that you have in mind, the overall story that you want to tell and how you want to tell it. So another issue that came up in pre-production to manage was that my good friend Peter Richweiss, who's a stunning DOP, he just paints with light. He made a couple of short films, one with me before, just amazing film, The Bottom Turn. Won all sorts of awards. Really proud to say it won the Palermo Film Festival, which is a sports film festival. It's the oldest one in the world. Really glad to say that it won that one. And he was unavailable, and he shoots on red. We shot The Bottom Turn on 8K raw red footage on his red weapon. And my other friend I've worked with on a lot of projects, including the pilot for the TV series and various projects in Dubai, is Tom Richardson, who's a Peabody Award-winning documentary and commercial DOP. So Tom was in the frame, and he had an FX30, so I bought an FX30, and we figured we'd be able to rent one more, or maybe an FX3, and then we'd have our 3 cameras for this mobile shoot. And then Peter said he'd read the script, looked at the situation, and he was working on a feature film in Romania that got delayed. And he said, I'm available, I'll do it. And that put me in another situation here, like, red camera, I can shoot 8K RAW, I can have all that dynamic range, all that flexibility. It's going to be red, it's going to be Peter, it's going to look amazing. But Tom's committed, and Tom's, we had another method of shooting it for which Tom was probably more suited. So now I had this dilemma again. Saying it was shot on red might enable me to market the film more successfully afterwards, but it's only one camera. I can't shoot a feature film in 4 nights on one red camera. I had a C300 Mark II at the time. That could be the backup camera. It was a really difficult choice. Now I went with the red and the C300, and that ended up being forced on me because Tom became unavailable. He was quite willing to come in and operate one of the other units under Peter's supervision. And that would have been a really, really beautiful solution, but Tom in the end became unavailable. I had to get another couple of guys to operate cameras, and that's how it ended. But the movie then ended up being a little bit static, although it's beautifully shot, it holds together, I'm very proud of it. It's as an example of the fact that, say, hey, I can make a feature film, here it is. It holds together. There's no real drop in the production value anywhere. It's an integrated, fully functional feature film. But I can't help thinking if we went the other way, we would have had something more dynamic. We would have had cameras moving around. We would have had lots and lots of coverage, 3 cameras moving around, 1 on each actor almost all of the time, maybe some 2 shots, etc. I would have had a lot more coverage to play with. On the other hand, it could have turned out terrible. The guys could have been casting shadows in each other. They could have fallen over each other. They could have caught each other in a shot more often than I could deal with. So I don't know. I'll never know unless I make that movie again. So I just have to go with my choice. It did give me a lot of problems in the edit, which we'll come to when we come to post-production. But that was my decision. And so that's something you're going to have to face. So you're going to have to, I'd say the lesson is you have to be prepared to make very difficult decisions, which will hugely affect your film, and think deeply about it. And then once you've made the decision, I suppose you just have to commit, go to it, go for it and do the best that you can.